guys, I'm into the review for Spindle by Lexa Hillyer. I got an arc of this through, I think, Edelweiss. I'm not sure if it was Edelweiss or NetGalley, but I got an arc, and this is just going to be my own opinion. But by no means has me getting an arc influenced my opinion. So this book is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. We follow Aurora. See, there's already her name. And she's a princess of this kingdom, but she's a bit different from the Aurora that you might know from the original fairy tale or even Disney, because Aurora can't speak and she can't feel anything. And when I say she can't feel anything, I don't mean emotions, I mean stuff like hot, cold, pain, tickling, that sort of stuff. She can't feel any of it. Now, we don't only follow Aurora, we also follow her illegitimate sister, so her half-sister called Isbe or Isabella. And Isabella is also not your average kind of protagonist, she's actually blind. And despite of these two girls having their disabilities, together they are able to take on the world. But then one day the council, who is ruling the kingdom while they wait for Aurora to come of age, decide that because of some issues that they have been having with Isbe's behavior, they are going to be sending her away, and so Aurora and Isbe will be separated. But before the council can do this, the curse that has been apparently put on this kingdom is activated and everybody's put to sleep with the exception of Isbe, who learns that the only way to save the kingdom is by waking Aurora, and to wake Aurora she needs to be kissed by true love. So she starts traveling to the kingdom where she thinks Aurora's true love is going to be, which is a bit of a tricky thing because stuff happened between Aurora and her fiance that I don't really want to talk about because spoilers. But basically it's a story of Isbe trying to save Aurora and coming to terms with how the world sees both of them and what their expectations are. Now, the two reasons why I really wanted to pick up this book was A, because it is a retelling and I freaking love retellings, and B, because of the disability rep in this book. It sounded just very interesting, and I hadn't seen a retelling done before with such realistic disabilities. And so I was really looking forward to that, but I'm afraid that the book let me down just a little bit. To begin with the characters, Aurora, I was really interested in her disabilities and they were very heavily featured. It was very interesting to read about it. I definitely felt like I was learning something, but herself as a character was a bit dull. I understand that not everyone can be as kick-ass as Katniss Everdeen. We can only strive to be her. But Aurora was just on the total other side of being Katniss. She was so incredibly meek. Like, you have characters who reveal information to her and she's just like, okay. She doesn't even think critically about it. She doesn't try to judge if it is real or if they might be lying. She doesn't try anything of that. And when certain stuff is happening to her, I can't say what because spoilers, I just expected to see more emotion from her. I just expected to see more of her thoughts and just read what it does to her instead of just being like, okay. And that's my issue with Aurora. Throughout the whole book, she's just basically going like, okay, okay. I mean, as you know, she's sleeping, but she's actually kind of in a dream world where things are happening. And just the whole time she's just going, okay, 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 okay. That kind of bugged me. She was just a bit too meek for my taste. Now Isbe, the other sister, I enjoyed a lot more. She's very spunky, she's very kick-ass, and I also really enjoyed that despite her disability, she just wasn't being stopped in any way. Where Aurora sometimes definitely had to struggle against them and also sometimes was just pushed into a certain corner because of that. Isbe just kept on fighting, and I really enjoyed seeing the whole different way that she approached the way that she is. I found that really interesting, and probably the thing that I love the most about these two characters actually together is the sisterly bond that you kind of read about. But at the same time, it's also kind of a negative thing because in the beginning you have it and it's very good and kind of addictive, and then it gets separated because of, you know, all the things that are happening in the book. And so instead of seeing the bond, you only get told about the bond. So basically every freaking second is basically like, I need to save Aurora. I don't care about this, I don't care about that, I need to save Aurora. I will endanger my own life if I can at least save my sister. And I really can appreciate the sentiment of that, but at the same time, I saw this wonderful relationship in the beginning, I saw it, and now I need to be told about it. And I I know it's a bit difficult to really implement it, but I would have liked to see their bond a bit more in the book, which is a bit difficult because they are separated, but I don't even exactly know how. I just know that I would have liked to see a bit more show instead of tell. And talking about show and tell, the author throughout the first 25% of the book is hinting at a certain thing that happened and that it was very important to the story, and I think we all can kind of understand what she's hinting at. If you've watched the movie, you know the scene with the fairies and the evil fairy, and the moment that the curse is being placed upon Aurora, she keeps hinting at it throughout the whole, or at least throughout the first 25%. And I felt it was actually a bit confusing. I mean, I'm familiar with the Disney movie, so I know what scene she's referencing to, but at the same time, this is a retelling, and so I figured, you know, maybe something else is going on, I could be wrong. And so it felt like the author was saying, you know what it is, you know what it is, and I was just like, I'm not sure if I know. And then we finally get the reveal at roughly 26%. I actually wrote it down, it is 26%. And it explains so much because we actually get to see it through a flashback, and I personally feel that the story would have been better if that had been the opening scene. I think that it would have grabbed the reader straight away. Like, you would read it and you would straight away think, I need to read this, I need to know what happens next. And it also definitely cleared up some stuff about the characters, why certain resentments are there, why certain characters like or dislike one another. It could have explained so many things, but instead the author is just kind of hinting at it. And it just really annoyed me. It felt like she was just talking about something, but evading the subject, evading the elephant in the room. But it's so important, I think, to know that scene, to kind of understand some of the issues in the first 25%, but that's my opinion. And talking about scenes from the original fairy tale, I felt like this as a retelling wasn't the best one out there. It felt like the author just grabbed the highlights of Sleeping Beauty, so the curse, the true love's kiss, and then just said, okay, I'm placing it in my story. And so it felt like it was a story of its own, but with retelling elements. So it didn't per se felt like a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. And I think that there's a very fine line that an author needs to walk to make it a true retelling, instead of just making it a story with some elements of a retelling but not really a retelling. And there are authors who do this very well, even though their work doesn't really look a lot like the original fairy tale. For instance, the Marissa Meyer books with the Lunar Chronicles. But this one, it didn't really work for me as a retelling. I felt like it was just the highlights of Sleeping Beauty put into her novel. And that's just what it is. Now, the world that we are in is very interesting, though at the same time I would have liked to see more. And that's actually an issue that I had also with some of the side characters. I wish that we could have gotten to see more of the other characters, to see more of the world, to get more of an explanation of the world, of the characters. I wanted just to get some more background. I wanted the world to be more fleshed out so that I could fully grasp it, instead of just kind of vaguely understanding how it looks, how it works, that sort of stuff. And then my final issue with this book, I gave it 2.5 stars, I believe, or maybe 2. My final issue with this book is part of the ending. So as you know, the kingdom is put to sleep, and at the end we visit the kingdom again. And it turns out that some of the characters, or just random villagers, have died because they couldn't eat or drink because they were asleep. But other characters in the story, actually some of the main characters, have been asleep sometimes even longer, and they are not dead. They couldn't drink, they couldn't eat, just like the other villagers, but for whatever reason they survived. And the author never really explains why. Why did some of those people die and why others didn't? And I just didn't really understand how that could be. And I don't really like inconsistencies in my books. And that was definitely an inconsistency that really, really, really bothered me. I just kind of tried to figure out why. Was it because they were this place or that place? Or because they were this or that, or they did this or that? I can't figure it out. And that just kind of bugged me because, I want to understand, why did they die? Why didn't the other ones die too? I mean, if we are going with the rule that, you can only live this and this long without eating or drinking, that means that basically everyone should have died, but they didn't. And that's just weird, if you ask me. So this was my review for Spindle Fire by Lexa Hillyer. Like I said, the book was a bit of a disappointment for me. I enjoyed reading it, but it's not my favorite book. I knew that there's a sequel and I might just read it just because I would like to see how the second book works out, because I'm guessing it does not have any more retelling elements, which might make me enjoy it a bit more. Maybe the author is more free to do whatever she wants to do with it. Maybe some less inconsistencies, and maybe Aurora will be a more kick-ass character. I have many hopes, but I've also learned that sometimes those hopes will not be fulfilled, so we will see. Anyway, if you've read this book, please let me know in the comment section down below. How did you feel about it? And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys with my next video. Goodbye guys, have a great day.